In this video, I'm going to show you how to handle pagination with Selenium. So we're going to scrape this website called Audible. This website belongs to Amazon and contains a lot of data about audiobooks. So as you can see here, there are a lot of information about audiobooks, and if you scroll down, you'll see that it has pages here, and there are 60 pages. So first, I'm going to show you how to scrape one page, and then we're going to scrape all the 60 pages. So let's start writing some code. I'm going to PyCharm now, and as usual, I'm going to write from Selenium import WebDriver. And then I'm going to define the variable that is the website I'm going to use in this video, and it's going to be this Audible website. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. I'm going to paste the link. Now we're going to define also the path of this Chrome driver file we downloaded before. So this is the path of my Chrome driver. In your case, you just have to paste the path of your Chrome driver. So now we're going to continue defining the driver. So driver equal to WebDriver, which is this one. We just imported, and then we're going to write that Chrome, and inside parentheses we're going to write the path. So as you might remember, this is the WebDriver and we're using Chrome driver, so that's why we put this. And this is the driver that is going to help us locate elements later. Okay, next we're going to write driver.get, and inside this parentheses we're going to write the variable web. So this is going to help us get the web in the browser that we're going to open with Selenium. Then we're going to maximize the window once the driver is open. So we just write driver maximize window, and that's it. With this, we have the window display all over the screen. And now it's time to analyze the website to find the best approach to scrape it. So I'm going back to the browser here, and now I'm going to click or right click, and then I'm going to click on inspect. So now I'm here on the developer tools, and now we have this element that represents the title. So we're going to scroll up a little bit until we find something that contains the whole information here. So I'm going to scroll up. We're here and we find this li tag that contains the whole title, and if we scroll up a little bit, we see this little box here. Keep scrolling up and let's see what we find. Now we have the single audiobook, and if we keep scrolling a little bit, we're going to find the whole thing that contains all the audiobooks. So I found it. Is this class ADBL impressions container. So this contains all the audiobooks listed here. So as you can see here, it contains all of them. So it's going to be our first reference, and our second reference is going to be the li because it represents each individual audiobook. So I'm going to show you here. This contains all the audiobooks, and this one the first, and so on. This one the second, this one the third. Now I'm going to copy this class name, and I'm going back to PyCharm, and we're going to define a new variable name container. So I'm going to write container, and here we're going to locate the element container. So I'm going to write driver as usual, and then we're going to find this element by class name. So we write find element by class name, and inside parentheses we're going to paste the class name we just copied, and this is the class name. And with this, we just got that container, and we're going to use this context to get all the audiobooks listed with li. So back to PyCharm, and to locate all the audiobooks listed, we have to write container to represent the current context, and now find element. And in this case, we're going to use XPath. So I'm going to write find element by XPath. And now inside the string, these quotes, we're going to write the string that it's dot slash and then li. So this represents this dot, as you might remember of previous lessons, is the current context. So with this, we're telling Selenium or Python that considers this container context that we just created before. And then with the single slash, we're telling to get the immediate child elements. So we're getting the immediate li. So back here, you see that this is the container and we're getting the immediate li that it's here. So that's what we're building right now. Now with this, you just get the first li element or the first audiobook. If you want to get all the audiobooks, you have to write find elements in plural with the s. Keep in mind that this is going to return a list and we have to loop through it later. Now I'm going to define a new variable called products. So I write products and this is going to be a list. Now let's see the data we're going to scrape. So I'm going back to the Audible website and here I'm gonna scrape the title, the author name, and also the runtime, which is the length of the audiobook. So let's see how we can get these elements. So I right click and then click on inspect and that title. So this is the element title here and we don't see any ID or any other thing that can help us easily locate these elements. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit to find something easy to use for our code. And now I found here something interesting. So here, this first we got this A tag, but above this A tag, we have this H3, which represents something like a title. And this has a class named BC heading, BC color link, which doesn't tell anything, and BC pop break word, which doesn't tell so much either. So here the thing that I think it's kind of representative, it's the heading, because heading is also known as title. So it can represent the title of the audiobook. But let's see how the author name and the runtime is displayed in the HTML code. So I clicked on the author name and we got this. So here again we have this that is the A tag that doesn't tell us much about this but contains the text we want. But up here we have the again span and we have this li and this li has the author label. So here again we found a representative word which is the author label that represents the authors that wrote the audiobook or the book, and this is gonna be also helpful I think. And let's see the runtime. Let's go into inspect this length and here again this is a span and doesn't have anything interesting. The BC text size small, it's not so representative to locate this. And let's scroll up a little bit and I found the word runtime label, which I consider representative. So here we found 3 representative elements to locate the title, the runtime, and the author's name. But as you can see here, the class name contains 2 words. One which doesn't tell us much about this element, and the second that it's interesting or it's representative for us. This is the same case for the author and the title. The first one is here we see list item, doesn't tell much about this element, while the second is the author label. And the same happens for the title. So what we're going to do here is to use the contains function. This is going to help us identify an element by one word. We've seen this contains function in previous videos and now we're going to see it in action. So let's go back to PyCharm to write some code, and now I'm going to write for product in products. So we're going to loop through this products list, and now I'm going to write expression. But first I'm going to do it on the browser so you can see that it's the correct expression. So I press Command F or Control F, and now I can test here the XPath I want to build. So let's locate first the title. So I'm going to inspect the title, and we're going to see the element that we've seen before, which is here, just above this A tag. So I'm going to locate this, so I'm going to write /, and now I'm going to copy the element we want, which is the first word that represents this title, BC heading. So I'm going to copy this, and now we're going to build the XPath expression. So as you remember, we have to write the tag followed by brackets, and then we have to write add, in this case class, and then the name of the attribute. In this case, I'm just going to use bc-heading because I'm going to use also the contains function, and now I'm going to write this. So first the tag, which is h3, and now I'm going to write square brackets. Then we're going to write contains. So this is the contains function, and this uses parentheses. So now I'm going to write the attribute, which is class, add class. Now comma, we use comma when we use the contains function, and then we write the attribute name, which is BC heading, but we have to put it inside quotes, double quotes or single quotes. And this is the XPath expression we just built. So here on the right, you can see how many elements match with this XPath expression. And as you can see here, it says that 23 elements match. But here's a thing here, because in this page, we have only 20 audiobooks. So I'm gonna show you much better here. We have just 20, show 20 items per page. So what's going on? Why we have 23 elements if there are only 20 audiobooks? What is happening is that 3 additional elements have the same XPath. So I'm going to look at them. So I just press here. And as we can see, the elements are not visible because here you can see that the 4th element is the first here. So it means that the first, the second, and the 3rd element that has this XPath expression, they are not visible because we can't see it here, but they are there. So to avoid matching these 3 hidden elements, we use this containers and containers products. So don't worry because we're not going to match those 3 hidden elements because with this current context, we avoid matching those 3 elements. So here, although it says 23, we're actually just going to match 20 because we're going to use this product context or reference. So now let's continue writing the code, and I'm going to locate the elements inside the for loop. So I'm going to write here product, and then I'm going to write that find element by XPath. And inside this, I'm going to write the XPath expression we just built. So I'm going back here to the browser, and I'm going to copy the XPath expression of the heading or the title of the audiobook. Here I'm going to paste it, and this is done. So now to get the text inside this element, I'm going to write that text. Now let's do the same, but now for the author's name. So I'm going to inspect the author's name, and here we can see the author label. So it's inside an li tag, and it has the name author label. Well, with this, but we're going to use content, so we only use author label. So here I'm going to replace h3 for li, and I'm going to copy this first. So only author label. We're using a class, so we keep this class, and I'm going to replace this one here, author label, and li here. So I'm going to delete this and li. So now you see highlighted in green this author label, and it's only the author, as you can see here. So I'm going to copy and go back to PyCharm, and I'm going to duplicate this. So Command D to duplicate this, and now I'm going to replace this XPath expression. So I'm going to delete this and paste it here. Now I'm going to add the dot for both expressions, so we consider here the current context that is product. Now let's do the same for the runtime, and I'm going back here and now to the runtime. I'm going to inspect it, and now I'm going to copy this runtime label. I'm going to paste it here, and it's also using a class attribute, and it's using the .li. So I'm going to keep it there, and here is runtime. I didn't copy the R, and now I'm going to copy the whole expression. So I'm going back to PyCharm. I'm going to duplicate this, and now I'm going to replace it for this. Now let's create some lists to store the data we're about to scrape. So I'm going to create a book underscore title, and I'm going to set it to a list with square brackets. Then I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to write here the author, and here the length, which is the runtime. So length. So it's ready now, and I'm going to use the append function to store the expression inside the list we created. So I'm going to write book title append in our parentheses, and inside here, inside the parentheses, I'm going to copy the first one, that is the title, and I'm going to paste it, and the same for the others. So I'm going just to write this book author, and now the same append parentheses, and put this inside parentheses, and the same for the third, book length append parentheses, and put this inside, and that's it. So with this we store the data inside these lists, so we can later export it in a CSV file or JSON file. So now after the scraping process is finished, we have to quit this driver we opened. So we write driver.quit, and that's it. With this, the scraping process is finished. Now we have to create a data frame to export the data in CSV file or JSON file. So I'm going to import here pandas as PD. So I write import pandas as PD. And now we're going to create a data frame. So I'm going to write PD, which is the pandas library, and I'm going to write data frame. And now inside data frame, we're going to use dictionaries to create this data frame. So the first element of this dictionary, that it's represented by curly braces, is title. So title, we write title, and now colon, and followed by the list, book title. Then we have to write the author, so author followed by the book author, the list, and now the length or runtime, so it's length and book length list. So this is how you create a dictionary, and this is also how you create a data frame from a dictionary. So now I'm going to create a variable named dfbooks, and I'm going to set equal to this, and now I'm going to export this to a CSV file. So I'm going to write df underscore books to CSV, so to CSV. You can also do it to JSON, just write to JSON here instead of CSV. And now I'm going to set the name of the file, so it's going to be just books.csv. And now I'm going to set the index, it's not going to be there, so false. Remember that pandas works with index, which is the names that are on the left of the data, and I don't want it to show up on the file, so I set it to false. Now everything is ready to run the bot, so I'm going to right click and run this script. So I'm going to run the script, and we're going to see what's going to happen. So first, the browser is going to be opened, and as you can see here, I suppose now it's going to maximize. Yeah, it maximized the window, and I think it scraped all the data and then quit, because this is the first website I had before with example here with the developer tools. So I'm going back to PyCharm to see what happened. So process finished with exit code 0, which represents that everything was Fine. And now I'm going to open the CSV file that should be named books.csv. So I'm going to open here, and here we have a new file named books.csv. I'm going to double click on it, and now I'm going to minimize this, and we can see that we have the title, the author, length, and we have 20 elements here. And the first is landslide. Let's check if that's correct. Yeah, landslide. While the last one is how I saved the world. And yeah, it's here. So we successfully scraped the first page. And on the next video, I'm going to show you how to use headless mode, which will help us scrape the website without opening the driver as we did on this video.